Now, before I introduce my panelists, and we have 5 excellent panelists here for you today, just 1 or 2 words about myself, who I am, and why I am hosting this panel. So my name is Max Riebal. I'm wearing kind of 2 hats in the Polkadot ecosystem. One is together with Mario, who will be one of my panelists. I'm running Harbor Industrial Capital, which is a Polkadot-focused VC fund. We've been around for about 3 years, based here in Hong Kong, and we're exclusively focused on the Polkadot ecosystem. If you're a builder within the Polkadot ecosystem, or potentially a builder in another ecosystem that wants to explore Polkadot and that is looking for funding, come and talk to us. We're always looking for good people who are building on Polkadot. Second hat that I'm wearing is with Polkaport East, which is an initiative funded by the Decentralized Futures Program of the Web3 Foundation. We're here in Hong Kong, representing the foundation, so to speak. We're working on growth for the ecosystem. We're working with investors in Hong Kong and beyond. And basically bringing together people in the Polkadot ecosystem in Hong Kong, in Asia. Now, with this introduction out of the way, I would like to welcome my speakers, who are Edward Chow, Larry Ma, Mario Altenburger, Anna Liu, and Saraya. Please, everyone on stage. Oh, the second mic, yeah. Great. Is this one working too? Yes. Okay, working? Not working. Oops. Oh yeah, testing, okay. Great, I think, so I prepared different questions for all the panelists, but I guess like the first question is gonna be pretty much the same for everyone. Quick round of introductions. Let's go left to right for now. Starting with Mario, who I already introduced as my co-founder at Harbor Industrial Capital. Maybe a few words about your background and what you're doing at Harbor Industrial Capital.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here and in Hong Kong, which I call my home for almost 15 years in this wonderful city. And thank you for everyone from overseas to come to this wonderful place. I came to Hong Kong in 2010 and I spent more than a decade with Bank of China, where I was heading the international capital markets, so building up Europe, Middle East, and the rest of Asia, so anything outside China, basically. And it was really 3 years ago when Max told me about Polkadot, or 4 years ago already, that I thought, wow, this sounds like it's amazing technology with an amazing team. Obviously, Gavin Wood, given his track record, having built Ethereum fundamentally with a CTO, and then having started Polkadot. And also the teams that I saw in Polkadot just basically convinced me to invest more in this field. And that's how we decided to found Harbor Industrial Capital.
Fantastic. Next, we're moving over to Ed, who's the head of markets for HexTrust.
Yes. Good to meet everyone. My name is Edward. I run markets and trading at HexTrust, which is a full-service digital asset custodian. I've been in crypto for many, many years personally. Prior to HexTrust, I was at a crypto hedge fund for a couple of years. And then prior to that, I did over a decade at various investment banks on the trading floor in prime trading and Delta One trading.
Perfect. Next up, we have Larry. Larry is from SNC, who you can see from the poster over there, is also one of the co-hosts of today's event and also a long-standing investor in Polkadot.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Larry Ma. I'm from the SNZ Capital. And SNZ is a crypto-native investment firm and has been over decades here. And in SNZ, I also look after the ecosystem because we invest in a lot of infrastructure, public blockchains. So we help to bridge the ecosystem to help the builders to find the right synergy with the community and also with the public blockchain and also other investment relationship here. So we are here to trying to help all the ecosystem to build in Asia. And last year, we also hosted here with the SmartCon. And that was with Chainlink for cross-border, cross-chain ecosystem.
Perfect. Thank you. Next, we have Anna Liu, who is the CEO of HashKey Tokenization.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting. So my name is Anna Liu. I now lead the tokenization business in HashKey. I think prior to like taking up the tokenization, the business role, actually, I was the like head of legal and compliance in HashKey for almost 5 years. So prior to that, I was a lawyer for more than I think 10 years. So like it's a pleasure and good to meet. Thanks.
Perfect. And next up we have the Web3 Foundation's very own Seraya. Glad to have you here.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so my name is Seraya. I'm in ecosystem development at the Web3 Foundation. My background is fairly technical, so I used to be a software engineer both in Web2 and Web3 for around 10 years before joining the foundation. And for the past 3+ years, I've been with the foundation.
Perfect. Cool. I'm gonna mix up the order of questions a little bit here, jumping back and forth to make this as interactive as it can be. But I do want to start with Larry because SNC, as I said, is a co-host of this event. And if you look at the poster over there, you will see there are many different protocols that SNC has invested in over the past. As I said, one a very long-standing investor in this space. Polkadot is one of them. So my obvious question to you is about investment trends in the crypto space. What do you see at SNC? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I think for this cycle, we do see obviously different trends compared with the previous cycles. So I think at a macro level, we do see that with the approval of ETF, basically TradFi has entered the space. We have an institutional player in this space. So 2024 is basically the first year that the TradFi meets the DeFi. And with in this year, we see the U.S. Pro Crypto Administration in place. So there are going to be more regulatory changes down the road, and that will help to reshape this industry at all layers, basically. So that's the first thing we see from the crypto space change. And from infrastructure wise speaking, from the BTC side, we see a lot of innovation from the asset issuance to later layer 2, and as well as future BTC5 is happening. And on the Ethereum and the Cosmos, we see there are modular blockchains. There are layer 1, layer 2, LRT and LST, and as well as we see there's more innovation from the Ethereum about the base roll up and also the beam chain stuff. So on the payment side, we see the stablecoin certainly on the rise, and it has been connecting us to the real world with the PayFi and also real world assets. And of course, the regulatory clarity and this year gonna probably change the scene in the future. And from application and the content space, we see the AI and the deeping has obviously been the trending for this cycle. And we are still very early with AI, and we probably will see more innovation starting from this year.
Perfect. I want to go to Ed next and kind of ask a bit of a similar question about market trends that you see in the space. For a little bit more context, Ed has been in the space for really a very long time. That's not a reference to how old you are, but I know that this guy has been around for a long time. Currently at HexTrust, so first-hand visibility of a lot of exciting projects that are happening. We're also currently working on a project with Polkadot together, but I want to keep it more general. What are the market trends that you see currently?
High level, I would echo what Larry said, right? This is probably the first year, or the past year is the first time we're seeing serious institutional money coming into the space. Obviously, first port of call is Bitcoin, right, with the approval of the ETF. But I think with the new administration, you're seeing a huge move towards tokenization of assets, a huge move towards acceptance of tokens as a type of security for investments, and just overall institutional comfort with crypto and cryptocurrencies in general, right? Like you're seeing more and more corporates looking to crypto as being part of their balance sheets. You see more hedge funds willing to step into crypto as a legitimate strategy, right? I think it's something like 40 of the 50 top market makers by volume are involved in crypto one way or another, right? So, last cycle, everyone was saying, oh, the institutions are coming, and this is the first real cycle where that's actually happening in real time. So,
Cool. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Let me move on to Mario. Obviously, we're talking about Polkadot here, so I guess a few people here better placed to comment about Polkadot. I guess the overall question is, why Polkadot? What is so unique about this ecosystem, and why did Harbor Industrial Capital decide to focus on this particular ecosystem?
So personally, I must say I was always a fan of long-term investments. So seeing a certain trend or investing in quality assets for the long term and then capturing the value along the way. I've been doing that personally across asset classes, from real estate, private equity, and others. And that's also why I found Polkadot so attractive, because you do have a great technology, you have great team. And actually, when I talked to the different Parachain teams, some of which are here, I found that a lot of them, they have experience in relevant industries, they have great ideas, but also the technical capabilities and relationships to actually make it happen. And I know Polkadot, has gone through the cycles as well, and there has been a lot of hype about some other chains. But I do believe that with the right people, with the right technology, and it's moving towards a great destination, and then the valuations will just follow naturally. So it's a bit of, as we like to say, a contrarian trade, but you see very attractive valuations for great technology being built, basically.
Perfect. I want to continue with Anna on slightly similar question about like why Polkadot, but I want to frame it in a different way. So as head of tokenization at HashKey, what are, in your opinion, the key requirements for a blockchain to serve as a chain, as a ledger on which tokenization can be done? And in your opinion, is Polkadot qualified for that kind of activity?
Thanks, Max. So, yeah, I think the answer is definitely yes. I think now, like, we are not just focusing on like building up infrastructure, right? So we are more thinking of how to help like application, how to help with like a massive adoption. So actually, the ability to a chain now is not just like be very specific, but also like be very comprehensive. So I think definitely every chain is talking about like building up its technical ability, but what I see is that actually our client, which like we are helping different projects, not just from like a traditional finance, but also from like a Web2 business and also some like Web3 entrepreneurs. They are looking for more than that. Actually, in addition to basic tech abilities, they are also looking for like the ecosystem. Whether or not there's like enough builders. Actually, builders is extremely important to a chain, which I think Polkadot is this is a key advantage, I think. So also another thing is the support from the chain. So I think that the chain, like the purpose or the way that the chain see like its maybe its purpose or role in the next wave is quite important, which I understand like Polkadot is shifting its applications and actually creating more features that is more friendly to like RWA or like a machine like deepens like et cetera. So yeah, like for HashKey, actually I'm looking after the tokenization business. But in the HashKey, there are also like other businesses like HashKey Capital. So actually, HashKey Capital is also an early investor in many Polkadot ecosystem projects.
We'll get there in the next question.
Yeah. So actually, I think the question is definitely yes, and nowadays that the projects and also the I think the investors, they are looking for comprehensive abilities to a chain, which I do think Polkadot is on the right track, and I look forward for more corporations and probably more exciting like ways to work together in future.
Perfect. Yeah. Anna mentioned sort of the need for developers and for onboarding and for growing the ecosystem. Now, Saraya is actually exactly the right person to talk about these initiatives from like sort of switching to the other side of the table from the perspective of the Web3 Foundation. What really are some of the key initiatives that you guys are driving in order to essentially in order to grow the ecosystem?
Right. So we, of course, we do most of the research for the Polkadot protocol, and we also have a lot of efforts when it comes to technical education. But when it comes to actively supporting the ecosystem, we have different programs, some funding programs that the team I'm part of runs. So that's the grants program that has been around for more than 5 years. We have signed over 600 grants through the program in the volume of millions of dollars. A more recent funding program is the Decentralized Futures program. That initiative is not limited to technical open source implementations such as the grant program is. So there we also support marketing and BD efforts and also community efforts. Also, for example, Alice and Bob's project that is about better reporting of OpenGov, right? Polkadot DAO. But it's not limited to funding. And so we also have the Decentralized Voices program, for example, that amplifies the voices of smaller but like key people in the ecosystem inside OpenGov. So it basically improves the democratic process on the protocol, right? And another program that we have that is also about decentralization is the Decentralized Nodes program. So there we focus on decentralizing the physical infrastructure of the Polkadot network. So there we assign some of our own tokens to smaller node operators that otherwise would maybe not necessarily get into the active sets. So meaning they wouldn't get rewards, and we support them in that way that enables them, empowers them to get into the active set, getting those rewards. So a lot of what we do, in summary, is about decentralizing the ecosystem. So whether it's about funding, whether it's about the technical infrastructure of the protocol, or even the social layer, right?
Yeah, perfect. Makes sense. I want to bring it back to Larry, and as one of the large institutional investors here, and somebody who's been around for a long time, to again talk a little bit more about Polkadot, because that's what we're here for. Be a little bit more critical. Like, feel free to share your thoughts here. Maybe walk us a little bit through SNZ's journey with Polkadot. When did you guys first invest? What did you see in Polkadot back then? How do you think Polkadot has changed since you've been invested, and what do you think Polkadot should do differently or better in order to attract more investors?
Okay, so I think the Polkadot supporting and also investment, it goes way back to 2017. That time in Shanghai, and we organized developer communities and meetups, and also Gavin was there as well. So it was a pretty fun experience, and we see a lot of young people, young talents, first time getting to touch with the crypto, and they are so excited to get into the technology. And that time, Polkadot is like one of the Ethereum killer, right? So that's definitely a good time. And we had many events in Shanghai and also Hangzhou and other places in China. And the things I think has changed a little bit around COVID or before COVID, and more developers moving out to Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, and other places. I think the voice get a little bit lower for Polkadot during the last 2 cycles gradually. And recently, I also met up with some previous Polkadot developers. I has been there for a while, but they kind of moving out of the space. I think that's kind of sad. So for Polkadot, I think Polkadot always has a good technology, and with the Jam, it has some very unique advantage. And to make Polkadot great again, I think, as Anna put, builder is very important. We love to see there's a way to attract developers back to the Polkadot ecosystem to start in building things. And that inflow of the talents is going to change everything. That's first thing. And second, I think Polkadot also have a lot of unique technology. So building some things like unique with the technology is like a showcase, like Tommy said. So a killer app, not necessarily killer app, and cool apps that somebody really want to use and with a real user audience can set a difference. And I think this is a cycle where we'll see a lot of people using, say, AI or using blockchain technology to build things which not necessarily only being used by Web3 people. It will be used by a more diversified audiences. So the ecosystem diversification, I think, is happening right now. And building something really people will use will actually set the long journey for Polkadot. I think that's the second thing. And the third thing I'm thinking is about from the ecosystem foundation perspective, definitely there need to be a more sophisticated mechanism to set up as a positive feedback loop to basically enhance the growth and reward the builders, reward the participants. That's my thought.
Yeah, perfect. No, makes a lot of sense. Very similar questions to add. You've been in the space for a long time. You're looking at many different protocols. Be critical and share with the audience, what do you think about Polkadot? What is Polkadot doing well? And maybe what is Polkadot doing not so well that could be improved upon?
Yeah, so I think one thing to me, Polkadot has always been a very technically focused blockchain, right? Always been very focused on building out the protocol, building the tech, attracting good project teams. So I think that's something that Polkadot has done really well. And the new proposal on Jam is very encouraging in that respect, right? I think it's really innovating in a way that other blockchains and layer ones may not be. Rather than thinking just about TPS or block space, it's also about compute, parallel compute, things like that. So I think that's very encouraging. On the other hand, I think the other thing that's very important in crypto is mindshare and community, right? You have blockchains that may not have the best technology, but they have a lot of mindshare, or they have a lot of community, or for lack of a better term, they have vibes, right? And that's something that requires work, right? It's not something that happens overnight. It requires consistent effort. It requires a focus on that area. So, it seems intangible, but actually it means a lot, right? Because if you think about early blockchains or even Bitcoin, right? It was built on a culture of HODL. There was this almost like religious fervor for Bitcoin, and if you can capture almost a little bit of that essence, I think that goes it goes a long way towards broader adoption of the blockchain, right? And then that's when you start achieving network effects, and that's really where you want to get to. So I think that's something that does require work, and even among the institutional set, right? If you speak to VCs, if you speak to institutional investors, there's a sort of like osmosis where they pick up on this sort of stuff, right? They speak to other VCs, they speak to other investors, they follow what's happening on Twitter. I mean, I was having a conversation with a VC investor the other day, and they're like, yeah, I think I love the tech of Mega ETH, but it just doesn't show up enough on my Twitter feed, right? So that's the kind of stuff that really matters, right? You need to get that mind share. So I think that's probably one area of improvement for Polkadot.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. Mario, obviously we are 100% focused on Polkadot, but let's break it up a little bit within Polkadot. From the Harbor Industrial Capital perspective, what are the verticals? What are the applications? The parachains, the new business models that you're most excited about?
Well, sure. We've seen a lot of great projects, as I mentioned, and we've invested in 28 projects already with Fund 1. And Fund 2 is launching also, actually, as we speak in the upcoming days. And we already have 5 warehoused investments there across different verticals. First one, obviously, Deepin is what has been a great investment for us. for example, Peak Network. Peak Network, if you're familiar, they've already onboarded clients like MasterCard, like Bosch, Airbus. So they're very strong with the adoption also across traditional enterprises. And they've done really well. They hit at some point the market cap hit almost 3 billion in the last 2 months. So they've done really well. Obviously, a lot of people also talking about BitTensor, which is an AI project on Polkadot. Another AI project with Origin Trail, and Giga will talk about that in a bit. But also some of the, well, obviously we have great infrastructure like Dexys, like we have some friends from Hydration here, Polkadex, so we have some Dexys building on Polkadot. But looking ahead, what I'm really excited about is what's happening also with governmental services. For example, Mandala Chain, what they're doing in Southeast Asia. So they're actually working with the government. They organized the CoinFest in Bali in August. They had 7 ministers coming, so showing that they do have the right network there. So they're building like basically a solution for identity, for healthcare, for transportation department, so you can register your car, but also implement banking and insurance product. So you can compare it a bit like the WeChat app, like a power super app, but actually built on blockchain. So I'm super excited about that. They already got a contract in Papua New Guinea as well, so spreading across Southeast Asia. So definitely a lot of great projects, a lot of verticals. But yeah, I would say those are the most exciting I see at the moment.
Perfect. Anna, I'm going to continue directly with you because Mario just mentioned Peak, and you also teased it earlier that HashKey is an investor there. And I think it also kind of, this particular project also kind of falls quite nicely in this tokenization narrative that you're working on. Can you share a little bit your thoughts about this particular project?
Okay, thanks. So first, I would like to clarify that. So the investor is the HashKey Capital. So I'm not gonna comment it from an investor perspective. So from my angle, actually, Peak is great. It's a layer 1 blockchain designed specifically for DePIN projects, which DePIN is also I think a key channel that we are focusing on. Though we think that probably in the past 12 months that you would not mention as much as before, it doesn't mean it's not important because the benefit is in the long run. I think as long as the maybe the infrastructure is getting more mature, we reach the scalability, I think the benefit will show up. So and I think speaking of the DePIN, actually different people mentioned a lot about the connections between a DePIN and RWA. Actually, these two concepts has many similarities, but it's just focusing on different dimension, I think. So for DePIN, it's more for a decentralized a physical infrastructure network, and then all the designs actually are helping to incentivize the users for contribution, right? So to the network. And I think for DePIN, it more focused on the underlying asset, like how it work, just from a more logic way, and then just about without a regulation at mind. So how does it work through DePIN, through Web3 plus IoT? However, when we talk about RWA, I think many people would just bring the mindset of compliance. So actually, it's more about how to tokenize real world assets. Means that financial assets, non-financial assets, and how to issue the token, issue the assets in a more compliant way. So actually, these two has many, I think, common, just similarity. So we do think there will be a lot of opportunities between the two. So projects like Peak actually is helping to just bridge the gap between these two concepts. So yeah, we're also just focusing on this part, and we just expect to see more and more like similar projects on Polkadot. Okay.
Fantastic answer. We're almost at the end of this session. Last question goes to Saraya. You obviously see everything from the inside at the Web3 Foundation. To wrap it up, like what are really the exciting trends, the exciting developments moving forward in Polkadot that you think people should be paying attention to?
Yeah, sorry. So in the near term, for sure, that's gonna be the hub. So for those aware, we have the Asset Hub. That's one of the parachains that is currently mostly focusing on storing assets or tokens. But in the future, we're gonna add more feature to it, and I think that's coming in like Q3 probably. And the main feature is gonna be Ethereum compatibility. So it's not just an EVM copy; it's actually the PVM, so the Polkadot VM, but it enables developers to compile Solidity code to the hub. So it's very similar to what Ethereum or other EVM enabled chains deliver, but it's going to be much more performant and very cost effective. And there are a lot of initiatives around that. So we want to build a DeFi hub on the hub. So that's probably the most significant upgrade for this year. And then of course we have Jam coming up. That's on the horizon. There we have over 30 teams working on open source implementations of the client. I think that's the biggest comparable effort that has ever existed in the space. And it's supported also by the Web3 Foundation. So we allocate 1 million up to 1 million DOT to builders. So that's currently, I didn't check the price. I don't know, but yeah, it's some millions. 10 million DOT. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I think that that's a great way to end this session. I can only thank my panelists here for sharing their insight. And before we break for the break, quick reminder, we, as in Polkadot, will be at Consensus over the next 2 days. We have a big booth there. A lot of other teams, a lot of other ecosystem builders will be there. So if you come to Consensus, make sure you stop by at our booth as well. With that being said, let's break for coffee, which will be served over there. And thank you once again to my panelists.